Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with a Group 4 race at Bathurst. We're driving the Renault Megane starting P3. We managed the qualifying lap of 2 minutes 11.0. It wasn't a perfect lap, but I was reasonably happy with that. So we've done a fair few races this morning, and as you can see there, we're starting P3. We're going to move the cameras to the TV replay camera for the start of the race. As you can see, we're all getting underway. Pretty much a Megane dominated field at Bathurst. Obviously the Megane, a very strong car here, and you'll see mainly people driving the Megane when you're doing this race, if you're doing it today. So starting P3 there, we're going to try and get as close to that car in front on the slipstream straight away. You can see there, trying to get a good first corner. The aim was here to try and get a nice clean first corner, try and get through the corner and try and see if we can get close to his slipstream. You can see I really nailed that corner and got really close to the bumper of the car in front of me as we're working our way up the hill, as everyone seems to have got through the corner without much incident, and again a fairly clean start. And you can see there we're getting the slipstream, but during this stage I could see there wasn't a move on, so what I was tending to do was a lot of fuel saving. We'll jump to that fuel saving when we go to the onboard footage further on in the race. I want to show you what I mean. When I was in the slipstream, I was doing a lot of messing with the fuel management and trying to save some fuel while I'm behind, and there wasn't an overtaking opportunity. As you can see there, all driving through here really nicely, and again visually this game looks amazing when we're on these TV replay cameras. It's pretty much a Megane touring car race the way this has been done, because everyone's in the Megane, and it is good fun though, the Megane at this track. Front wheel drive, bit different the way you have to drive this car compared to the rear wheel drive cars, and it's a really enjoyable car to drive at this track as we're all pushing through these corners. I was obviously trying to save some fuel as well. We've got P4 very close, you can see top 4 building a bit of a gap up to P5, and we're going to jump on board with the camera that I love watching. When we look back on the car there, it looks absolutely amazing. As you can see, I love this section of track as I push all the way downhill and really get close to the wall. I'm really pushing the limits. I really do enjoy that part of track and that view as well on the camera angles. You can see taking a nice tight line in on that final bend so I can try and get the power nice and early. We're into the slipstream with the car in front. He's also got a slipstream with the car in front of him. We're going to ride on board now with the onboard footage. As you can see there, I'm going to try and show you what I was talking about in terms of the fuel saving. So at the end of the straight, you're going to see me gain and gain and gain, then slowly start working that fuel mixture up, because I don't want to gain too much. So you can see I know there's no overtaking opportunity, so I'm just trying to play with that fuel mixture and save as much fuel as I can during this early phase as we go through these corners. You can see P2 made a little bit of an error there, and we got even closer there. So I didn't, instead of trying to get really close and make a move, I just stay in that fuel mixture too and try and save more fuel as we come to the last corner. And the leader took a really wide line through there. It looks like he was struggling a bit on that corner. We're very close at the front now. You can see we've got ART Adriano in the P1 at the moment, and we've got this SPAR guy right in front of us, driving pretty much a camouflage Megane by the looks of it. We're trying to get as close as we can. We're driving the Williams-Rothmans livery on our Megane, and you can see there, looking in that top right corner, look how close everyone is so far in this race. Got a lot of close action going on as we're getting in that slipstream again. You can see I'm putting in that 6 mixture on the fuel mixture, trying to save as much fuel as I physically can during these early phases of the race. And even on this section now, I was in the slipstream, so there's no point me using 1 and just getting closer and closer and then having to lift because I can't see the braking zone. So just staying in that fuel mixture too, saving as much fuel, being very patient, not trying to make any moves. There's no point trying to make a move at this part of the track at Bathurst. It's probably going to end in a crash or an incident, so trying to be really careful and just stay in that slipstream. And then on the uphill section, tending to put the fuel mixture to level 1 because you want the power going up the hill, and then back down to 2 as soon as we get to the corners where we don't really need that full mixture. You can see now it's still very close at the front. We've got P1, 2, 3 and 4 all within probably about 1.5 seconds of each other. Just look on that top right hand replay camera and just look how close the action is as we go on the downhill section. And again, like I say, I really enjoyed, but look at what I'm doing with the fuel mixture. Because this is a lot of coasting and not really putting too much power on, I tended to try and save some fuel in this section as well, as we can put it back to 1 for the initial acceleration on the downhill section. As you can see there, getting really close to the top 2 guys there. And we're just going to hold back and just watch what happens here now as we move into that TV replay camera, as all 4 cars really closely together there. And again, I was just saving fuel at this stage. I didn't want to just get really close and make a move, so what I was doing is just staying in their slipstream, saving as much fuel as possible. It's the best thing to do at Bathurst in this straight, because when you're in such a good slipstream like that, you can put fuel mixture 6 on and you don't tend to lose much spaces. The guy behind looked like he went for a move, braked really late, but we managed to brake late and hold that one off. As you can see, the leader makes a mistake, gets himself off track and offline, and looks like P2's having a little look going into turn, that final corner. We're going to have a little look on the right hand side, but he shuts the door on us, comes really, because we actually slightly touched there, but I don't think either of us got a penalty for that. Not much I could do as he just slammed. He had to brake fairly early because of the guy overtaking him, so it was just a little tiny bit of contact, and luckily no one got a penalty. So penalty system not too bad on that occasion. As we work our way up the hill now, again trying to get really close to this guy in P2. He seemed to be struggling a fair amount in this race. I don't know what was going on, but there was definitely some mistakes coming from P2. As I'm trying to now get as close as I can, because I know I need to get as close as possible to try and make a move on the back straight with the P2 now overtaking P1, and maybe going to be putting some really good lap times in. So I need to try and maybe go a bit more aggressive. Now you can see I have a little look on that inside, but it's not really possible to make a move as this guy now with one ball, we've actually scraped the wall on the outside there. You saw the sparks, and he lost a bit of speed, and we actually tapped him because he lost the speed, and then he hit the wall on the exit there, and we got a 5-second penalty during that little moment there. Really annoying situation. No one really got affected by it, and again the penalty system giving a 5-second penalty to me. Not much I could do. He hit the wall on the outside, and that compromised him on the entry, and he lost a lot of speed, so I couldn't really, it's not a point of track where I'll be getting off the power, and we just slightly tapped him. It wasn't even anything massive, and we got a 5-second penalty, so a bit frustrating, but we're going to carry on and try and push hard in this race and see if we can still do as well as we can. As you can see there, P4 behind us, really putting some pressure on us as well, so I'm trying to save fuel where possible, but I've got to be really cautious that I don't give P4 an opportunity to get too close to us to make a move. So you can see, trying to get a nice clean entry and exit on that corner. So you see there again, P2 got close to that wall, scraped it, and the sparks were flying off. We're now in the slipstream. We're going to look to make a move down the straight now. You can see me lining it up. We're in the slipstream. Let's have a little look now. I go to the right hand side. He's not going to defend it too much. He knows that I've got that inside. I get my car side by side, and we're actually past him then going into the corner. It looks like he's going to brake late. I decide to brake really late. He has a look on that inside, but I braked really late. Managed to hold him off and get that P2 position. So now we need to go full on attack and use a bit of the fuel that we had saved to see how close we can get to that leader. As you can see there, P4 is also having a little look on P3. But he's not able to make that move as he manages to hold on to that P3 position, the driver, ART driver. However, he seems to be really struggling in this phase of the race, as now I'm going to really try and get on with it and see if I can get as close as possible to the lead driver. We had saved a lot of fuel, so I needed to try and get as close as possible to try and make advantage and take advantage in the pit stop when it comes to see if we can jump him in the pits. So working our way up the hill, we're in this slipstream, and we're going to start pushing as hard as we can. Although I did make a few very annoying errors, as you're going to see very shortly. As you can see in the distance there, P4 is making a move on P3 in the ART driver, and he's got himself into that P3. So the ART driver losing pretty much 3 positions in a couple of laps, and from P1 down to P4, and seems to be really struggling with us now. I'm really pushing through here. You can see there we got caught up a bit there on the slipstream. Working our way up the hill now, and we're pushing really hard, but I slightly clipped the wall there, lost me a bit of time, and then again I think I slightly clipped the wall on the exit there, which lost me a bit more time again, and then again on the exit up here where I was just really trying to push too hard, I clipped the wall on the outside there and lost a little bit more time again. So we dropped back a fair amount of time there by making silly errors, but we really tried to push hard on the downhill section now to try and get back close to him. You can see there, I do love this shot again. I know I said it before, but it just looks so nice where you see the car really bouncing around, the suspension working as we clip the wall again on the exits. I'm really trying to push hard and get as close as possible because I wanted that P1 position. We wanted to jump him in the pits, so I knew where to get as close as possible. As you can see, into the slipstream with the car up ahead, very sad. I'm not sure if we're actually in the slipstream there. We may be fractionally off the slipstream, and that's why we're not gaining too much. So we're going to jump on board with the onboard action and have a little look at the gap. You can see we're 1.3 seconds behind the leader, but we've got that fuel that we saved. You can see on screen there the 5-second penalty that we got for that slight tap, and that's really frustrating, but not much we can do about it at the moment until maybe they fix this penalty system in the future. As you can see there, the leader makes an error. I'm going to go down that right hand side. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to go round the outside and try and get in front of him on the pit entry. You can see in that top right hand corner, we just about squeeze in front, get on the brakes, and then really attack the pit entry, and in the pits we go, and we've got that position. So let's have a little look at that, looking back up from our car. As you can see, made the error. I got myself in front and give him space, and then just about turned in and give him the room. And then luckily for us, it actually ghosted us because it looks like he would have clipped us, and he made an error there and actually ran wide and clipped into the wall. So that we managed to gain a lot of time on that drive there. So in the pit, we had managed to save pretty much the most fuel. Only Sledgehammer behind us had saved a few percent more than me. Obviously, in my slipstream in the early phases, the race was also saving fuel. So it looks like we're going to jump a fair few jump the P1 driver in the pits. Obviously, with the error he made, we fill up a little bit extra because obviously I'd been doing fuel savings. So I wanted to make sure I put a little bit extra in the fuel. You can see 4.3 laps of fuel left. That's just to make sure that I can drive a little bit more aggressive on this last stint. And we've got ourselves in P1, as you can see there. And luckily for us, a guy who stayed out for an extra lap has managed to keep himself in P2, and Sledgehammer's got stuck behind him. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to be really fast in the pits, because I'd seen in previous races that some people were getting caught behind drivers doing that extra lap. So it was really important to really get in the pits and get out as soon as possible. And luckily for us, we've managed to get the advantage there, and it's really helped us out. So now what I need to do is really push hard, because we've got about 3.5 to 4 seconds ahead of Sledgehammer, and we need to really get going because we've got 4.8 seconds worth of penalty to get rid of. So what we need to do now is put some nice consistent laps. I still need to do a little bit of fuel saving every now and then. So on the downhill section is when I tended to do it, when the car's not really using much of its revs, then I can just let the engine coast through the corner. So trying to get off the throttle and then using the lower mixture as well really does help with the saving of the fuel. As you can see there, we've done the fuel mixture into 3, going through this section, really attacking the course. You can see I know I need to get on with this because I need to build up a lead. I'm not sure whether he's got any penalties, the guy behind me. Obviously I'm not aware if he's got anything in this race. I couldn't see him, he was too far back, and you can see we've managed to get quite a solid lead there. We're 5 seconds ahead now. So again, I still knew I needed to push though, because to get rid of that the 4.8 seconds can be tricky sometimes depending on where you do it. I wanted to do it at the end of a straight somewhere, but I wasn't going to do it on this lap. I wanted to build that lead up a bit further before I risked doing it. So you can see there he's 4.8 seconds, where he was getting constantly better exits off that corner going onto the back straight than I was. However, I was able to do a few other corners quite a bit better, so we were able to just pull away a bit in certain areas. He was gaining it back in certain areas. So you can see now I've really got to concentrate and just try and put a clean lap in. I wanted to get the fastest lap of the race also with the pace was so slow in them first 3-4 laps. It was way off what it should have been, so I wanted to start putting some reasonable laps in. Obviously the out lap doesn't count, but the next few laps are going to count in terms of whether we get the fastest lap of the race. So again, going through turn 1, leaving it at fuel mixture 1, I can see I've got plenty of fuel. I've got 3.1 laps of fuel left. That's enough to pretty much get us to the end of the race with just a fractional amount of fuel saving. I do know that obviously we've done quite a bit in that first stint, so I need to take that into account with how I'm driving now. There's no point just using one all the way through the laps, because if we do that, we could get to a situation at the end of the race where we run out of fuel. So you can see there now, still in fuel mixture 1 and trying to attack. I could see I had a purple sector in that first sector, so trying to push reasonably hard all the way on this lap. I don't want to lift off anywhere and lose any time. I can see I'm gaining on P2 and getting that lead even further up. So this lap's looking good so far. We just got to keep pushing and try and give ourselves a good chance of victory in this race. At the moment it's looking very solid with only a 4.8 second penalty and over 5 seconds in the lead now. So going through to this is probably one of my favourite sections of this track now, this downhill section up here. I really enjoy the way you have to throw the car and lift and coast and then glide it through the corners. So enjoyable. Just really enjoy being driving any car on this track through here. As you can see there, we're 1 second up on the previous best lap as I'm doing some fuel saving now. So we're into fuel mixture 4 where I'm saving a bit of fuel, then into fuel mixture 3 where I want a bit more power, and then 2 and then obviously for the back straight I'm going to put it back into fuel mixture 1 as we need some power to try and make sure that we get the fastest lap of the race. So luckily for us, we were quite a way up on that middle sector. We were over a second up on the previous best lap, so we just got to keep pushing now. We obviously used a bit of fuel saving during that lap, as you just seen there, so we're not 100% going for that ultimate lap, but we go through that middle sector on a very nice 1 minute 40.6, which is really nice, considering we're in a race with fuel and tyre wear on. So everything's going reasonably well on this lap. We hooked that this chicane up, getting on the power really early, and then working our way up to the last corner to try and get a reasonable lap to put us in the fastest lap of the race. And one reason why I wanted that fastest lap of the race is I have noticed when you do get the fastest lap of the race and you get the race win, you tend to get a little bit of extra DR. So, and obviously at the moment I'm trying to build my DR up again. As you can see there, we go over the line on a 2 minutes 11.7, so a really solid lap, only 7 tenths off our qualifying time in the time trial mode. And obviously we've got tyres that are worn on this, and we've still got fuel on board, so really happy with that. So now I was pretty much sure that no one will be able to beat that 2 minutes 11. So now we just concentrate on making sure we can finish this race with fuel and still driving. You can see we still go through that sector fractionally up on our previous best lap, but we're not really going to worry about pushing too hard now. I've got to try and think about where I'm going to get rid of that penalty that we've got, the 4.8 seconds, so we need to be quite tactical where we can do it. The best place I can recommend to do it is coming towards a corner, but not in the braking zone. You want to do it maybe like midway on a straight and just lift, don't brake. The best way to do it is just lift off the throttle. If you brake, it's not going to get rid of that penalty hardly any faster. What you want to do is just lift off the throttle, and your car will still maintain reasonable speed because it's just going to use the engine braking, but the penalty will start coming off. I'm going to show you in a minute when we get round to that how I did it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But one thing you can't do is put your foot back on the accelerator. It's very much like a Assetto Corsa. If you put the foot back on the accelerator, it will just stop, and you won't have that penalty coming down. So you really have to make sure that you just let it come all the way off, and just don't touch the brake as well if you're on a straight. It's always look for a really tactical place to do it. I think I did it on this lap. You're going to see it maybe this lap or the next lap, I'm not too sure, as we've got a reasonable lead now. You can see there we're like 5.8 seconds in the lead, so I need to decide when I was going to do it. I think I might have done it on this lap, so it might have been the last lap because I was going to do it on this straight. So let's have a little look. I was looking back in the distance to see how far behind he was. So look, I just lift off the throttle, don't touch the accelerator, just let it go down like that, and then once it's back on, then back on the throttle. You can see I forgot I was actually in 6th gear then, but I wasn't too worried obviously with the lead that we had. And this last lap wasn't the cleanest lap. I was just half daydreaming now from this point because I could see we've got a 3-second lead, and when I look back I noticed that he had a penalty as well. So either way we were going to have a race win in this race. All we've got to really do now is just concentrate on keeping it clean for this final lap. I did tend to lose a little bit of concentration. That's the only thing when you take a penalty. I do find that I start coming out of the zone. When you're in the zone and driving hard and really pushing, you tend to be driving better and you're concentrating. But as soon as you have to lift, I just start losing a little bit of concentration. I think I made a few very slight errors on this final lap, but we were 3 seconds clear, so there wasn't a massive worry in making any little errors. And obviously he had a penalty as well, which I noticed when I looked back. So I knew I'd be pretty much okay for getting this race win. So we're just going to try and keep it clean through this final lap. You can see there, pushing reasonably hard, but obviously not being as aggressive as I was earlier on when we got our 2 minutes 11.7. Going through this section now, down into 2nd gear. I like to go into 2nd gear and just lift off and let it coast for a bit, and then get on the power early, upshift into 3rd, just to stop that wheel spin, and then just let it rev out in 3rd gear because it does start spinning a little bit on the top of that hill there. So I just let it rev out a bit, let it use all the acceleration in 3rd gear, then slowly into 4th gear, and then just work our way through these corners. I do enjoy these corners. You've really got to turn in really early and clip with that curb, so you can stay on the power. As you can see there, going through this corner again, I really enjoyed that corner as well. It's one of them corners you've got to turn in early and turn in before you actually expect. Going down to the downhill section now, downshifting it early into 3rd gear. I like to change gear fairly early as we go through to the corner where your car is half in the air, where it bounces over that bump. And then you can see there I was daydreaming. I just turned too far to the left and clipped the wall, but there was no real nothing major. It maybe lost a tenth or two as we work our way downhill for the final time now on the back straight. And I really enjoyed this race because the first stint was all about tactical driving, saving fuel whenever we could, and then we got through to that opportunity where we had to take it. I saw he made the mistake. I wasn't just going to back off and wait behind him. I wanted to get him in front of him in the pits and really gain as much time in the pits as I could, and we benefited from that. Quite brave move. You know, it could have been a risky situation where we got hit going into the pits, but I wanted to go for it. I made that move on the pit entry and we got ourselves into the lead, and obviously we had saved more fuel than pretty much anyone else other than Sledgehammer, who was a fair bit behind us at that stage. So overall, really nice race, really enjoyed it, and we take P1 and another victory. That was our 4th victory of the day in this track. We had done 4 races and 4 wins, so we're starting to get our DR back up. I've managed to regain 14,000 DR after that annoying 26,000 we lost, so we're getting closer to getting to 60k, and we should be over 60k but in a few days. So working our way back up, and we'll hopefully be back to 75, which we was at one stage. So that's all we've got to do, is just keep on getting these consistent wins, and I'm really happy with that. As you can see there, ART Anto takes P2, and Sledgehammer takes P3 after getting the penalty. So unfortunate for him, that he had a penalty, but I felt like he probably did deserve it, but he had the penalty that the game had gave him. That's why I obviously drove as hard as I could to get rid of that penalty, to make sure that we kept that P1. Anyway guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. We're uploading daily on GT Sport, and we'll be back with other games like Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2 as and when we can get on them games. So thanks again for watching, and we'll be back very soon.